Chapter 26 A Sight for Sore Eyes Part 1 3:15 p.m. continued. Kenny came back with the coffees. I had skimmed through the scrapbooks while he was in the kitchen. There were lots of clippings with match reports from the local newspaper. A few of the names mentioned were there in black and white. He also kept ticket stubs of functions he attended, posters of local events, and numerous photographs depicting groups of friends drinking and laughing together. The fashions of the day brought back memories of my own 1980s wardrobe: brown shirts and parka jackets, balaclavas and cagoules, snapshots of happy times. It made me think of my own youth again and my own life. Could I even fill 11 scrapbooks with my memories? I doubt it. Another stark reminder not to waste time being alive but not really living. Kenny sat down opposite me again and picked up one of the photograph albums. He turned to the first page. "This is me in '85. Handsome chap, eh?" he said. "The girl beside me ended up being my wife. We didn't last that long either, just 3 years. I don't think I was cut out for marriage. I met her in a bar in Peckham. She told me off for sitting on her bag. I should have been reading the signs then. Talk about a nag. She was on my back more often than the saddle of red rum. Even when I told her we should break up, she complained that I should have done it earlier. Nah, I'm better on my own. Some fellas are not cut out for marriage. Ernie was, though. I just don't understand why it took him over 50 years to find the right one. He had plenty of girlfriends in the time I knew him, but he didn't settle with any of them for long. But they always parted as friends. He had a knack of being able to break it off with them and still retain their affection. They never had a bad word to say about him. Even though it took most of them months to get over him, they all wanted to marry him. He could have had his pick. It wasn't like he was anything special to look at either, just normal, but they were drawn to him like bees to a honey pot. We were all jealous of him on that score, but we never told him. You don't, do you? Some of the lads married his cast-offs, and I think they knew the girls in question had settled for them because they couldn't snare Ernie. Someone snared him, though, I said. Kenny turned the pages of the album and turned it around to show me a picture of a happy couple. Ernie was stood there in a smart black suit, and he was linking arms with a very beautiful lady wearing a cream-coloured dress. She looked radiant. "Ernie and his bride," I said. "Yeah, well, yes and no. I'll come to that shortly. Bloody strange story." "Strange?" I said. "In what way?" Kenny continued. "There were 2 marriages that day, 2 weddings, a joint celebration. Ernie and Samantha, and Artie and Mandy. Artie and Mandy married at the registry office in Bermondsey, and Ernie and Samantha said their vows on Southwark Park in front of all their friends and family. There must have been about 500 on the park that day. Any passers-by must have thought people were flocking for some kind of celebrity." "Why did both couples not get married in the registry office?" I asked. "They couldn't. I'll come to that in a minute," said Kenny. He took a swig of his coffee and demolished another biscuit as he flicked through the photo album. "I'll tell you the backstory first," he said. "How they met and all that. It was quite romantic, really. As a team, with our umpire, we used to socialise an awful lot. It was mainly the lads going out for a few drinks and chatting to the ladies, but 99% of the time it was never more than drinks. But occasionally 1 or 2 of us managed to win the affections of some lady or other. After Ernie, Limp was probably the most successful in the pulling department. He used to say there were more gay men than straight fellas in most bars, and more straight fellas in gay bars than gays. I don't know about that, but he was always with some chap or other at the end of the night. We had some great nights out on the town, but it was at the cricket club itself that true love was blossoming. Samantha was Brian's daughter, and she was best friends with Artie's girlfriend, Mandy. Artie and Mandy had already been together for a couple of years, and she used to help him with his decorating business. She was good with figures and used to do all his accounts and paperwork. It worked well, and they were very much in love. You rarely saw them apart. Artie had been married before, and so had Mandy, But things hadn't worked out in those marriages for whatever reason. They met through the cricket. Mandy's mother used to make us a lovely spread each week. I'm sure she was Stickman's aunt thinking about it. Anyway, Mandy used to help her out, and she soon got chatting to Artie. He was a quiet gentleman and a thoroughly decent bloke. He charmed Mandy over time, and her mother approved of him. He was the kind of lad you could take home and introduce to the family. A safe bet, so to speak. Not like me. I don't think any of us noticed the relationship developing between Ernie and Samantha. Brian certainly didn't. Sam was a grand lass too, really chirpy, always happy, a real softy. She wanted to help everyone and everything. I remember one time she wouldn't let us start the game because there was a bird on the field. It was hopping about and falling from side to side. It couldn't get off the ground, and she didn't want us to start in case the ball hit it. She'd been married before when she was a lot younger, but he passed away, I think. I don't know how. She didn't talk about it, so we didn't pry. But she must have been mid-40s when she got together with Ernie. I think he got so many of his bloody decisions wrong when umpiring because he was watching Samantha and not the game. When the penny dropped with the rest of us that something was going on between them, her old man was over the moon. He actively encouraged it. He thought the world of Ernie. It was the summer of '84 when Artie and Mandy got hitched. They chose Bermondsey because that's where most of her family lived. They wanted to have a double wedding with Ernie and Samantha, but it wasn't going to be that straightforward. One night, Ernie told us the tale of how he arrived back in England. It was a hell of a story, and he had us in stitches. Samantha was there, and she already knew about his past. They must have discussed it between them, and she was fine with it all. Basically, as you know, the bastard didn't even exist. He was who he said he was, but there was no record of him. He came back into the country under someone else's name, reclaimed his own name, and carried on. He never signed on the dole or signed anything that would trigger a paper trail. He worked on the stalls, cash in hand. He worked in construction as a labourer, cash in hand. He even worked on the turnstile operator down at the Den as a steward, picking up his wage in a little brown envelope after the game, in cash. He was in his mid-50s and was on no system, register, bank record, or electoral roll. He was a fucking ghost. The Reaper Man was a bloody good name for him. Anyway, after all that, it turns out he did propose to Samantha. He was prepared to join the rat race in order to take her hand in marriage, but she wouldn't hear of it. She agreed to marry him without actually getting it done. Not official like. No priest, no vicar, not even a bloody registrar. They said they would exchange their own vows in front of us all on the park. Family and friends. It was crazy. Bonkers. But no one seemed to care about it. It sounded like a great idea, and we all went for it. They got married on the crease. Wickets for an altar. It was the bear that conducted the service with a can of beer in one hand. Rings were exchanged, photos taken, and when the bear said, "You may now kiss the bride," a cheer went right up across the park. It was a glorious sunny day. Artie and Mandy married in the morning, and everyone from Bermondsey came down for the second service of the day. We had one massive party for both couples, and we all danced and drank well into the night. It was fabulous. I asked him, "So Ernie didn't actually get married?" "Course he did," said Kenny. "You don't need a man in a dress or some jumped-up council official to give you the seal of approval. That wedding was as relevant and as genuine as any other. It was a marriage made in heaven, but delivered on Southwold Park. Even Tim was there with a bright red bow tie on. He looked the part." "Incredible," I said. "Do you have any photos of the day?" "I certainly do, son. Here you go."